Welcome to Mum's Half Hour, the show that gives you the chance to discuss, share and explore the issues which matter to you. Hello, I'm Liz Spate and welcome to Mum's Half Hour, a chance for you to enjoy the conversation and thoughts of other mums and let off a little steam on the issues which matter. This series is fully interactive, so you can get your questions and comments to us right now. We'll receive them live here in the studio, or you can submit them in advance of the show and our Mum's Half Hour team will ensure we tackle as many as we possibly can. But be quick though, as there is only one more episode in the current series after today. And today we'll be discussing one of the biggest challenges to a new mum, breastfeeding. Dealing with difficult sleeping patterns for your newborn as well as for the mum and dad. We'll have a quick chat about Halloween and half term and discuss your kids' favourite autumn-winter footwear. And there'll be details of our competition to win a year's supply of Start-Rite shoes. Well, answering the Mum's Half Hour call and joining me today to discuss all of this and more are mum of one, Pamela Hay, and mum of two, Amber Spain. Ladies, welcome and well done on making the panel. Really nice to see you today. Hiya. Now, don't forget that this is a live show, so if you have any questions or comments for our panel, please use the box on your screen, click send, and we'll do our best to tackle them over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. And when submitting your question, let us know whose shoes you'd most like to walk in for a day and why. Leave us with your contact details, and one lucky viewer will be in with a chance of winning a year's supply of Start-Rite shoes. And finally, if you're tweeting whilst watching the show, you can get involved with the conversation by using the hashtag Mum's Half Hour. Right then, ladies, let's get cracking by talking a little bit about breastfeeding. It should be the most natural thing in the world, but we get ourselves tied up in knots with it, don't we? Pamela, you've got a little girl, is that right?
Yeah, Tiffany, she's 2 now. I wanted to breastfeed, but I had a bit of a nightmare in the birth to start with. I had preeclampsia and high blood pressure, so I was induced 2 weeks early. So I was rushed into a theatre. She came out with forceps in the end, and because I was still bleeding, trying to sort me out, she went straight to my husband, Calvin, which was really nice for him. But then I got wheeled back into the room with them about 20 minutes later. So then the midwife at the time just put Epiphany on me and basically put the breast in her mouth for her. And I don't know whether it's that what caused it, but after that point she just wouldn't latch on.
Oh, it's really upsetting, isn't it, for a mum?
Yeah. The first time, so it was nice that she latched on, but then after that, no matter what I did, she just wouldn't latch on. And
how did you feel about that?
Upset at the time, yeah, because you just don't know why. And
No.
I stayed in the hospital the 2 nights, so I had like 3 midwives trying to help, and she just would not latch on. She was a big baby, like 9'3".
So she needed her food, yeah.
You could tell she was hungry, so in the end it was just, I'll have a bottle, try with a bottle and keep trying after that, but
yeah,
it never worked.
So you've not had the best experience, really. Would you have liked it to have been different?
Yeah, I think if I would go back, I would just say to the midwife, just let me hold her and let her do it herself, you know.
Yeah. So do you think you'll have another? Do you think you'll try again?
Yeah, we'd like to have another one, definitely.
Maybe next time round then.
Yeah. I know what to expect then, because you don't know what to expect.
No, you don't.
Nobody told me. Would have been nice.
So Amber, you've got 2 girls, is that right?
2 girls.
And did you get on with the breastfeeding okay?
I did. I was lucky. I've got a sister who's got 4 children, and she'd breastfed all of them. And she said to me beforehand, she told me some horror stories actually, which sounds really negative, but what it made me do was I was sure I was going to breastfeed, and I was ready for it to be potentially difficult.
Yes.
As it turned out, my first one was actually much easier, and the second one was a bit more difficult.
So it shows you that it can be to do with the babies. It's not necessarily technique, or it's not a natural thing for some people, is it?
No, it is. I mean, it's absolutely natural to breastfeed, but what's not natural is for you to put a baby on and know what you're doing from the start without any help at all. And nobody would go into having a baby without expecting a midwife to be there or someone to help you and talk you through it. And yet lots of mums say they want to breastfeed and they don't think about what's going to actually happen and get that help that's available before you have the baby, to go and make sure that they know all the information that they need.
I wish I'd have had all that. would have helped me.
I think that's the problem. A lot of mums don't know that it's out there, and that's what I'm trying to do, is to...
Yeah, you've gone on to become sort of a breastfeeding counsellor, haven't you?
I'm a breastfeeding peer supporter,
okay.
Which is like the first level of training, basically. And I would like to do more, actually, and become further trained in it, but at the moment I help to run support groups for mums who are breastfeeding, social groups, and for people who've got problems as well. They can come along and access some help, and if we can't help them, we can refer them to people who can help up beyond us. And I also go into hospitals, into the postnatal ward, and speak to mums when their babies are just a few hours or days old, to talk to anyone who's breastfeeding and who wants more information, to tell them what help they can access when they leave the hospital, and to just sort of talk through how they're getting on, and a lot of the times put right some misconceptions and myths that they've got about the situation, and unfortunately sometimes to redress things that the professional midwives and things that you think are the ones who know about it have done wrong. Like, you know, sometimes people like yourself don't get the help that you need from a midwife, and actually they haven't got they've trained to deliver babies, and they have a little bit on breastfeeding, but not as much training as a breastfeeding expert would have.
And they're very busy places, maternity wards, aren't they? And trying to get people's attention, there's always someone who needs the attention more than you. And when you're trying to feed your baby, you know, you can be quite tense, can't you? And it's and it's. I was very lucky because I was in hospital for 5 nights in the end, because I had a cesarean and then my little girl had jaundice. So I was in hospital for 5 nights, and for me it was fantastic. It was like breastfeeding boot camp. They said to me, don't try and feed her without us being there, and every time I fed her they'd check my positioning, check that she was latched on, and it was brilliant. And I had problems with sore nipples, we all do, don't we? And so I had a breast pump for the one that was sore and kept that going that way, and I just had the confidence that they'd given me. So when I came home with her, I just was so confident. If I'd been sent home that night, it would have been completely different. Completely different.
You know, something that mums don't know as well, which I was just thinking with your situation, is that those support groups are very, very welcoming to mums that are pregnant, and actually we're delighted to see pregnant mums come in, because then we can tell them before they even have the baby some things to expect, and some things that if this happens, you know, if you have a difficult birth, if your baby's a bit big, whatever, those sort of things, how to progress from there. And you know, something you said was absolutely right, that if you when you have your next one, you'll say, you know, just let her be on me and let her try herself. That's a very, very big part of what we do as breastfeeding, you know, better trained breastfeeding sort of experts. The first stage is actually to just let the baby try themselves, because all this pushing a baby on doesn't actually necessarily help. And it doesn't help you, even if someone, a midwife or myself, push a baby on and do get it latched, that then you don't know what we did. When I go home, you're still in the same position. So we actually have a hands-off technique anyway. So please, mums, do go find out your local breastfeeding group before you have your babies. Go along when you're pregnant. Everyone will be really delighted to see you. And then if you do need the help, you know where you're going as well, which is so much easier to walk back into somewhere where you've seen them already.
But Pamela, what sort of feelings were you left with after?
A bit of helpless, because nobody gave me anything, techniques to use. You tried your best, and then you just feel useless, because the baby's hungry, the baby's crying, and then the baby gets distressed because they're not only hungry, they're trying to latch on, and you're trying to be patient, but they haven't got patience. They just want food. So hard it was. I remember being at hospital overnight, and she was screaming. I just thought, it's awful.
It's bad. I know in my NCT group there was 8 of us, and I think most of us breastfed, but a couple couldn't, and one of the ones who couldn't, she just felt really awful and guilty about it, and so we had to try and give her support. You know, it's okay, at least you tried, and you know, it's a very difficult thing, because your hormones are whooshing around as well, aren't they?
I think a lot of the time you can't take that guilt on yourself if you've been failed by not having the help that was there. I mean, if you know how to access it, and even then some people still don't get given the correct information, and that can be, there's 2% of women that actually can't physically breastfeed.
That's an encouraging figure.
What mums don't realise is they hear a lot of stories, I didn't have enough milk, my milk dried up, you know, lots of things like that, or baby couldn't latch on, and actually they can with the right help. And if we talked more about the fact that it's only 2% who actually can't, then your chance of being in that 2% is quite low. And that would make mums, I think, more ready to go, well, I know I must be able to, so who can help me?
You'd be more positive from the start.
Rather than thinking, you know, well, I know my friend couldn't and this one couldn't. So believe in yourself.
Yes, yeah. So what top tips then? Because people do have problems breastfeeding, don't they? Sort of mastitis, and there's a few horror stories, sore nipples, you know.
Yeah. For me, I'd be research and speak to people, because if I'd have done that beforehand, not saying I didn't, you know, but I think I'd have done more research, talk to people, and don't let people intervene. Do what you want to do.
Yes.
I think I wish I'd have said to the midwife, you know, just wait a minute, let me do it. But
you've
being
been
the
through
first
a lot,
mum,
hadn't you?
I wasn't in the right frame of mind either.
No, because you're tired, aren't you? I mean, it's a big thing giving birth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people seem to pop them out, don't they?
Yeah, I went through a bit of a nightmare.
You do revere the professionals as well.
Yes.
When you have your first one, you do kind of go, okay, whatever you think is right, and you're sort of even scared in hospital to change your own baby and stuff, even though it's yours. I don't know if I'm meant to touch it.
How do I do this?
My top tip would be to go to find out where your breastfeeding support is before you have your baby. When you're pregnant, take it as one of your antenatal tasks. As much as you would go and find your midwife and have your appointments with them, go and find out where your local breastfeeding support groups are. Don't trust that some midwives and health visitors are brilliant, but not all of them have got the same amount of training, and it's not their speciality. Everybody who's a breastfeeding support worker has to have breastfed themselves to have had the training. And in the same vein, even if you don't go to a group, surround yourself with other mums who are breastfeeding, because you have the same issues. And you know, even things like talking about how your baby is or isn't sleeping is a different conversation with someone who's breastfeeding and someone who's bottle feeding. So it's nice to just feel like you're surrounded by other people who can help.
How did you find breastfeeding in public? Did you take to that okay? Breastfeeding tops?
I was so shy about my body before I had the children. I was convinced that even in my own home, I would probably go upstairs to feed the children. And for me personally, and I know loads of mums this isn't the same for, but for me it was absolutely the other way around from the moment I had my babies. I think partly I was really proud that I was breastfeeding. I'm also, everybody's different in their physiology, and I'm quite small and so I can be quite subtle. And I had no problem at all out and about, and I've actually probably had between 5 and 10 people approach me in public and come up to me and say, oh, how lovely to see someone feeding the baby. I've never had a negative comment. I think it does depend on how, you know, I think probably because I was looking quite happy and just relaxed, people who could see that was what I was doing, which were always women who'd probably breastfed themselves because they could just
notice people, because you know, some blokes, they go, oh, it's disgusting, and you just think, well, it isn't disgusting. And you can be very subtle about it, haven't you? You muslin over and latch them on, and I was quite militant about it. I was a bit like a tigress. Thought, you come near me and say anything, I'm feeding my baby. You know?
That can be a dad's job as well. People talk a lot about what a dad can do with a breastfeeding child, because, you know, obviously it's very clear if you're bottle feeding, the dad can actually give a bottle, but there are loads of things a father can do to support a breastfeeding mother, and that protecting you when you're in public. If you want to feed whilst you're having a coffee, for him to sort of sit in a way he's close to you, so you don't feel exposed if you don't want to you know, make you feel that if anyone does approach you, he's going to stand up and explain that it's your legal right to be doing that. That's really helpful. It
must have been nice for your husband though, because to be a bit more involved, because you couldn't breastfeed, to be able to bottle feed, so he can get up in the night and do the night feeds. Excellent.
I know he enjoyed it as well. On another subject with the bottle feeding, it was I remember epiphany. Poor Calvin, my husband, spent about an hour trying to feed her with a bottle because she put the bottle under her tongue.
Oh yeah, that's really common, isn't it?
And we didn't know what was going. Like, I'm sure the milk should be gone by now. What's going on? So when we spoke to the midwife, which was the weekend, she was like, well, that's probably what the baby was doing. We figured it out in the end anyway. But just to have that experience. When you're a new parent,
it's, oh dear.
Just for a bottle, it was crazy. But yeah, he loved it though.
It's nice for the dads to be involved as well, isn't it? Because it's a very bonding thing, breastfeeding, isn't it? And I think sometimes the dads can feel a little bit excluded, can't they?
My husband's had the experience of having bottle-fed children, that he had 3 children before we had children, and then having me breastfeed the children. And he actually has finally overall decided that he preferred the breastfeeding. I think he liked seeing the bond between me and the children, and then he took on other jobs like doing the bath and things like that. So he had something.
Excellent. It's all interesting stuff, isn't it? Well, join us after the break when we'll be discussing something that goes hand in hand with breastfeeding: disrupted sleeping patterns. So just as you're trying to get used to breastfeeding, you're also trying to get used to the most disrupted sleep you've ever had in your life, and no one can prepare you for that, can they? Pamela, how did you find, or how are you finding the sleep? Because your little girl, she's 2, isn't she?
She's 2, yeah. She's in her own room. I was quite strict, really, because I didn't want the baby to be in our bed, because that was mine and Calvin's time together.
Yeah.
So she was in her own cot in her own room from 3 months old.
But that's fair enough, that's okay.
I think I only felt comfortable doing that because I had a monitor, so I could see her as well as hear her. And I just trained her to sleep on her own, but then you're still going up and down with the milk, and that's quite difficult to get used to, because I used to love my sleep.
Yes, yeah.
I'm never going to get
back
to that.
It all changes, doesn't it? You do get used to it, but you never feel quite the same, do you?
No, because I call it just mum sleeping, because you're constantly half awake, I think, because you're listening out for things. Yeah. Obviously Calvin did get up a few times in the night as well, so he wasn't left out. But she's really good now. She'll sleep all through the night. Yeah. She loves to sleep.
Oh, good.
She likes
Excellent.
She's in her own bed now.
What time does she wake up in the morning?
She wakes up about 6:30, but that's because I've got to go to work, and then she's dropped off at nursery first. Yes. But then she goes to sleep at 7.
That's pretty good, yeah.
She has a good nearly 12 hours sleep. So.
Long may it last.
I know. There are phases that you go through, though, where things change. So.
Yeah, just as you think you got it sorted, you think, this is it, my life is back to normal, and then it all changes, doesn't it? Yeah. It does. Now, Amber, you had a completely opposite experience, because you had the children in the bed with you, didn't you?
I did. I had both of them. Oh, the first one I did actually try to have her in a Moses basket in a cot for the first probably week or 2, and I just couldn't. I'm not good without my sleep, and I couldn't bear sitting up and feeding her and dropping off whilst I was doing it. And so I researched how to safely co-sleep, and actually found that there's some really, really positive things about co-sleeping. And so I took the eldest one into my bed when she was about 2 weeks old. With the second one, she never used her Moses basket. I was completely converted by them, because I'm basically lazy, and when I was breastfeeding she was able to help herself. But they've only both slept in my bed for about 7 months, and then we decided that it's time for them to go into their own cot and me to have my bed back.
Yeah, and how did you find that, sort of breaking the in your bed cycle? Because that must be quite difficult.
It was difficult, but I mean they were waking up for feeds. It was really the fact that I decided to stop them feeding in the night. I think the location wasn't really the issue.
Right.
And actually that was something which my husband took over. I'd done the feeding in the night for the first 6 months, so when it was time for them to learn to sleep, he read a book about basically sitting with them and reassuring them, and that's what he did. We'd put them in the bed, and if they woke up he would just sit in their bedroom and reassure them, and it took maybe 2 weeks or something.
Yes.
And they both sleep through the night now.
Sorry, I did a lot of research as well on the internet, and a couple of books with different techniques that you can use, because obviously it's strange for the baby to be on their own.
There are loads of completely different techniques, and it does depend what suits you. But I think, like you were saying about breastfeeding, it's your mother's instinct, what suits you. I know that for me, I wouldn't have had my children crying and not been with them. I wouldn't have liked that, but for some other people, that is what suits them.
And every baby's different as well, and this is why it's so important to have other mums around you, because you can swap stories, and then you realise that you make your own way, don't you? You take on all the advice and make your own way with your own child.
Definitely. There's lots of different techniques. Of like a pick up and put down technique that you can do.
Controlled crying.
I don't particularly like that one.
No, it's a bit heartrending, isn't it?
And the pick up and put down made Bethany worse for me, because I picked her up, she wanted to be with me then, so putting her down was just even worse. Yeah. So it was just reassuring technique, really, what we used. And
but in
the for a while.
Wee small hours at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're looking at that little baby and their little shining eyes, and you're like, please, will you just sleep, please, because Mummy's exhausted. It's just, oh dear. There are some old moments, aren't they, in those wee small, and you look out the window and you think, everyone's asleep, it's only Oh dear. We've had a few of your questions in, actually, so let's move on to one of those. Sarah Anguish. Oh dear, I hope you're not too anguished, Sarah. How many naps should a 1-year-old be having, and for how long? Can you remember?
Ooh. Kind of.
Anybody remember?
I think we used to have about 3
I can
naps
remember,
in
but
the
I
day.
know that everybody's different. Each child's different. Like you said, your little girl sleeps a lot longer, even still in the night, than mine do. And then I'd go with if it's disrupting their nighttime sleep, you can try to cut. Like my little one now, she's 2. If I'm travelling back from somewhere in the car at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, she would fall asleep. But I know that then she won't want to go to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock, so I try to stop her. But having said that,
you can't really always do that.
No, you can't. But it does depend on your child. I mean, and boys, I don't know if this is a fact, but everyone I know who's got boys, the boys slept in the day for a lot longer into their life.
Oh, okay.
My girls both stopped really quite early.
Oh, really good. Yeah, Pitney, she still sleeps in the day as well. Oh. She'll have a good hour and a half in the day, and then she has 11 hours at night.
Yeah, so maybe
you get more rest.
Yeah, so maybe Sarah, just follow your own instinct really, because there's no right and wrong with this, is it? And also, they have to fit in around your life to an extent as well. Even if you work, they go to bed at different times. So just follow your instinct, and if your child's grumpy, let them have a sleep. That'd be my advice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope that's of help. Oh dear. Anyway, we've got half term coming up, haven't we? Sleep patterns go a bit out of the window for some people, don't they? Because you stay up late and what have you. What are you? You've not really got half term yet, have you?
No, she's at nursery, so it's slightly different.
Yeah.
She'll still be there.
What are you up to for half term? Anything exciting?
I don't know yet. For a start, I'll be enjoying the fact that I don't have to try and get her into a uniform every morning. But I'm lucky my husband works from home and we get to have some time together, so we'll probably have a couple of days out, things like that. And if the weather carries on like this, lovely, we might actually be able to take advantage of going and doing some nice things like going to... I live in Kent, so I can go off to the beach for the day and things like that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about Halloween? Do you do anything for Halloween?
I've got a terrible admission. I was thinking about something. My daughter doesn't have sweets and things, so every time she gets a party bag through the year, she's allowed the cake from it, but she has to she gives them to me for the Halloween cupboard, and she's quite excited by it. She goes, "I've got something for the Halloween cupboard."
That's so sweet.
So when all our neighbours' kids come round trick or treating, I've got a bag ready for all of the things that my daughter hasn't been allowed.
You mean, Mummy? Please say you give her one.
No, she's allowed the cake.
She'll thank you later when she's got fabulous teeth, won't she? She
seems to quite enjoy it. I'm teaching her to be generous.
Yeah, that's so sweet. We've got my NTT Halloween party, which is always a real laugh. We have apple bobbing and they all dress up, and it's really sweet actually. And then we do trick or treat just round my neighbours.
We'll probably do trick or treat as well.
Yeah, they look so cute when they're dressed up with little witches and things.
So mine's already asked me if she can be a pumpkin.
Well, just a quick reminder about our competition. For your chance to win a year's supply of Start-Rite shoes, all you have to do is to submit a question and let us know whose shoes you'd most like to walk in for a day and why. Remember to leave your name and contact details too. Join us in part 3 when, with half term in mind, we discuss the shoes your kids live in the autumn and winter months. OK, well, they're predicting that we're going to have a really harsh winter again. We had some awful snow last year, didn't we?
This time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, well, it was a bit later maybe, but it really was difficult. What about boots and things? Do your little girl got boots yet? They're so cute.
She's got some black patent boots that she loves. And we've got some snow boots ready, if we do have some snow.
Yeah.
She loves shoes.
Does she?
Yeah.
Where did she get that from?
So do my girls.
Yes.
Shoes and bags.
Yeah, she's got her own bag as well. Yeah, she loves shoes.
That's lovely. I think snow boots are a good point actually, because we've got some little snow boots here actually. Because last year when we had all the snow, they were walking to and from school and their feet get freezing, really freezing. So we got some little, really wet. It's surprising, isn't it? If you do walk to school, which a lot of people do. And we got little snow boots for my daughter, and she loved them, little pink ones. Oh, they were so sweet.
With a little fur inside, she loves them.
I think I'd like to get some snow boots this year if we have snow again. I haven't been in the habit of it, and mine have always had boots like the red ones there.
Yes.
And I absolutely love little girls in like stripy tights and things and boots like that. So they wear those all the time. But yeah, if it's cold, you do need something to keep their feet warm when you're walking about.
And do they have favourite shoes then? Your daughter, she's a bit of a shoe fiend, is she?
She likes all of her shoes.
Does she?
Literally, she likes all of them. I've got some nice red ones that she likes, and she likes the boots at the minute. Every shoe, something. She's
Isn't
like,
that funny? She's only 2 and she really likes shoes.
She can put them on and off herself, her socks on and off herself, and she's just on and off all day. She would.
That's lovely. And do you tend to go into a shop to get fitted, or do you buy online, or do you do supermarket shoes? How do you do it?
Firstly, I get them fitted every time because I just think little feet are precious when they're growing up.
Yes.
So we have them fitted, and then you tend to know when your child's ready for a next pair and whether they've changed, like the width, whether they need another width.
Yes.
So I think every so often you need to get them measured, I think.
Yeah, we've got a question in on that actually from Sarah Homer. She says, do you always recommend fitted shoes, and what are the actual differences? I suppose it's just what you said really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you know your own child's feet really, because the Pitney's feet, she about ages had small feet. She just didn't seem to grow, and all of a sudden I've had to buy 3 different pairs in the last how many months.
It's expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I do think fitted is best just because of, I mean, they tell you if they're uncomfortable, like when they're at the age too, because the Pitney will be like, oh, if it's hurting now. So I always think it's best to get them measured.
I agree. I get mine always get theirs measured, and I did with the older one. She's 4.5, and I thought over the summer we don't have a lot of sun. All right, for the first year, I'm going to get her some sandals which aren't fitted, and because she's bigger now, not growing. Yeah. And actually, we went and tried a couple on. Not in some quite good shops, but not fitted ones. And she's got little narrow feet, and they were atrocious. And I was like, I can't, because they're just slipping about on her foot. Yeah. So I went straight back to no. We just went to the sale in the fitted shoe shop.
Yes, yeah. There's a really good video online, because I mean, some people like to have a look online as well before they go into the shop, or have a look online for fitting and then order them online. Yeah. Start-Rite offer this great video if you look on YouTube. And that's really good. It has every different type of shoe as well, so fitting boots for girls and what have you. So that's youtube.com/Start-Rite shoes. So go and have a little look on there, because that's an excellent thing. Second-hand shoes. Would you ever pass your shoes on down to?
I pass them from one daughter to the other.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that's worked.
I've kept some. Just in case.
I've got mine like yours. They've got stacks and stacks and stacks, and because they're both born in the same month, they've been pretty much the same size.
Yeah, so okay.
It's very handy.
Yeah.
It's like I planned it.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't work if she had like winter boots when it was summertime.
Yeah.
But so far they've shared a few.
Have they? That's. I mean, the experts say, don't they, that you shouldn't do that because your shoes mould to the shape of your foot. But I guess as a mum, you use your instinct, don't you?
Yeah.
So how do you find time to relax yourselves then, ladies? We've talked about the children, haven't we? Our lives revolve around them, don't they? It's all we think about, and we do so much for them, don't we? How do you find time to relax?
I tend to run a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do go to the gym and then run on the road as well. I've not long done a half marathon, and I'm going to do another one shortly as well, so I tend to run a lot.
Well done.
And my husband keeps fit a lot as well, so we're kind of like passing ships sometimes, which is not good, is it? I mean,
that's what it's like, isn't it? Yeah.
You just have to find, we say like Friday nights, that's it. That's going to be our time where we just, even just talk. Yeah. Sometimes you're just out the door, in and out. You don't even get time to talk.
Yeah, and then when you've got the child with you as well, there's always something else to do. No, you can't, can you?
Not really.
No. What about you, Amber? What do you do to relax?
I do exactly the same as you, and both me and my husband exactly the same with running. But my husband works from home, so I do get to see him more during the day. And then we tend to both, if we want to do anything, we do it. It's always after the kids are in bed, so we have that real kind of like, right, 7:30, grown-up time, at least until they're about 10 or something, and then they're staying up
later.
People say that, don't they? They lose their evenings, and you think, oh no, that's when you need to buy a big house.
Don't want to think about that yet. 7, it's our time.
Yes.
And I'll take the opportunity then to do anything that I want to do without the kids. Or sometimes go around to girlfriend's house and just sit and have a cup of tea and a chat.
Yeah.
Or, if my husband and I can get my mother-in-law to babysit, we might occasionally get to go out. Very occasionally.
Yeah. Nice glass of wine. You really enjoy it more, actually, don't you, when you don't go out so often?
Yeah.
One final, nearly out of time, but one final comment from Kate Wallace. She said, "I'm loving this show. Amber and Pamela, what an inspiration." There we are, ladies. Well done. Well, time flies when you are having fun, and our half hour is up. So thanks very much to Pamela and Amber for joining us. Inspirational talk, obviously. And be sure to catch us next time on the last Mum's Half Hour of this series on Friday the 11th of November, when we will be discussing, amongst other things, the Christmas holidays. Santa is coming. And remember, if you want to find out more about picking the perfect school shoes, go to youtube.com/Start-Rite shoes. Well, thanks very much for watching, and keep on with that breastfeeding. Come on, ladies, you can do it. Bye for now, and we'll see you next time.